Hello and a very warm welcome. This is the news on NTA International. My name is Justin Bemunyin and here are the top stories. Presidential task force on COVID-19 calls for more public and private investments to strengthen health sector. Federal government signs agreement on Gurara hydropower, set to deliver 30 megawatt hydropower. President Buhari writes Senate requests confirmation of 42 ambassador nominee designate. And House of Representatives urges interventions to mitigate social and economic impact of COVID-19. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Now, let's begin with an update on COVID-19 situations around the world, where Russia now has the second highest number of coronavirus infections globally, just as the World Health Organization is appealing for more funding to accelerate COVID-19 vaccine development. Joyce Ometu gives us an update on the global pandemic.
In Nigeria, the total tally of confirmed COVID-19 cases has risen to 4,641, with 150 fatalities, as 242 new infections were announced on Monday by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control. Southwestern Nigeria records the highest number of cases in the country, with Lagos State topping the charts in that region with 1,933 infections, while the northwestern region is a rising hotspot as Kano records 666 infections, the highest in the region. North Central Nigeria has the third highest number, with the Federal Capital Territory following with 359 cases. In the northeastern region, Borno State tops the ladder with 230 infections. The southeast has the least number of COVID-19 cases in the country. As at 6 p.m. 12th of May 2020, the Africa Center for Disease Control reported 66,373 cases of COVID-19 in Africa, 2,336 deaths and 23,095 recoveries. The World Health Organization Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus said there are about 7 to 8 top candidate vaccines for COVID-19. But more funds are required to accelerate the development. Globally, numbers published by Worldometer as at 6 p.m. show 4,292,506 infections, 288,975 deaths, and over 1.5 million recoveries. Russia now has the second highest number of confirmed coronavirus cases worldwide after the United States. On Tuesday, it reported 10,899 infections, bringing the total to more than 232,000. And that's a global update on COVID-19. Many thanks for watching. I am Joyce Ometu.
In the meantime, the COVID-19 PTF chairman, Boss Mustafa, has appealed to Nigeria for more public and private investments to strengthen all levels of health sector in the country. He made the appeal during the daily briefing on COVID-19. He also asked all Nigerian scientists and researchers to submit their inventions and claims for validation. The PTF chairman, in addition, advised state governments to align their measures with the PTF guidelines. Health Minister Dr. Osage Ehanire said response teams in Kano have recorded successes and that the unexplained deaths in Azare, Bauchi State are being investigated.
As we continue to learn the lessons from COVID-19 by fortifying our health systems and infrastructure against present and future pandemics, I wish to remind Nigerians that there is still a lot to be done and investment to make.
The Federal Ministry of Health is working with its agencies and other organs of government and multinational organizations in continuous efforts to control transmission with tried, tested, and innovative measures.
The PTF National Coordinator, Dr. Sani Aliyu, emphasized that any medication such as the Madagascar herbal solution coming into the country must go through mandatory regulatory validation before it can be administered.
Consistent with COVID, to please get in touch with the NDC through our helplines, particularly if you feel you may have been exposed. It is only by ensuring absolute compliance and cooperation that we can overcome this hurdle.
He appealed to state governments and security agencies to intensify surveillance against interstate movements to end the spread of this pandemic. Now, as Nigeria joins the rest of the world to commemorate this year's International Day of Nurses, the focus is on the vital role played by nurses and midwives in the health sectors around the world. Correspondent Alika Okbanachi Arua in this special report takes a look at the contributions of nurses in providing healthcare services.
One of the most significant aspects of this year's Nurses Day celebration is that the World Health Organization, WHO, not only declared the year 2020 as the year of nurses and midwives, but also that it is coming in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, when the world needs the services of nurses the most. President, National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives, Abdurrafiu Alani Adeniji, emphasized the need to change the narrative about nursing, erase misconceptions, and expand the understanding of the public on the importance of nurses to any nation.
Every country is expected to ensure that there is legal framework, general, that is not only limited to nurses, that will favor nursing as a professional, vote more money to nursing and midwifery education. Another one is scaling up of manpower supply, that there must be recruitment, motivation, and retention of these people, so that there are lateral and vertical brain drain.
Others maintain that despite the risk involved in being a nurse, particularly with COVID-19 raging, they do not regret going into the nursing profession.
My message to all nurses is to keep the fire burning. Do not change who you are. Continue to take care of the patients, which is our calling.
I advise them to take the necessary precautions. Our PPE is very important.
Nurses are calling on the government to make their job easier by providing state-of-the-art facility in hospitals and protecting the lives of nurses, especially with the threat of COVID-19. In Abuja, Alika Okbanachi Arua, NTA News.
Okay, I'm now joined by Mr. Akpi Joseph Abuja. He is the Chairman, National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives at the National Hospital, Abuja. Mr. Akpi Joseph, thank you very much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me this evening.
Now, today is 2020 International Nurses Day. Why is it so important? Why is the day being observed?
Yeah, it is very, very important because the mother of nursing, that's Florence Nightingale, was born on the 12th of May, 1820. So, and we normally mark this particular period for her because she actually changed the narrative of nursing in her time, and she did so much during the Crimean War in England. And after that, she was awarded with almost about, I think, $250,000, which she invested that in building school of nursing. And she really actually changed the system, the nursing system, because as at that time, nursing was being looked as if it is a degrading profession. But she coming into the profession at that time, she changed the story. And she's been what to be celebrated. We started the celebration, I think, on the 5th of May. And today being her birthday, it has reached the climax of that celebration.
Okay. Now, COVID-19 pandemic brings to the fore the strategic roles of nurses in fighting epidemics and, of course, pandemics. How would you assess the input of nurses in Nigeria at this critical time?
Yeah, this is a critical moment in the whole world, not just Nigeria. And nurses all over the world have actually demonstrated their skills and resilience in fighting this COVID-19. We are nurses. You could see that nurses are ever ready to go to the trenches were in a war and not relenting. I remember when the whole thing started, they asked many people to volunteer. I was so marveled to see the number of people that were ready to volunteer to go to the war front. It's something that people are running away from, but these people are ready to face it. And it's not just COVID-19. It has been the norm of nursing to be in the forefront of fighting whatsoever infection it is. It could be Lassa, Ebola, and all sorts of diseases, and never relenting in fighting such the conditions. Nursing is very, very pivotal in the health industry.
Okay, now there is this issue of shortage of nurses worldwide. How is it affecting, or how has it affected Nigeria, and what do you think is responsible for that?
Yeah, it has affected Nigeria negatively because even before the COVID-19, we have it on record that so many of our nurses have applied to leave the country. And when this issue of COVID-19 came in, it kind of stopped them from moving, and which I believe, and I know that after the COVID-19, many are just waiting to move. It has actually affected the system negatively. And the only thing that government can do, and other good willing individuals, because we have many, in fact, in this COVID-19, we have seen the demonstration from the society, people demonstrating, a kind of donating billions of naira, and which, of course, they can use such to invest in health industry. We nurses in Nigeria are working in a very hard situation. And you discover that there is this burnout syndrome among nurses. They put in so much to make sure that they prevent illness, promote health, to prevent, to restore health, and to also rehabilitate. And in doing so, they pass through so much stress because, one, some of the facilities are not equipped. Before a nurse will carry a procedure, he must have, or she must have, to pass through so much stress before reaching out to meet up in meeting the demand of the patient.
Okay. Okay. Now, in view of the humanitarian nature of nurses' jobs and the burden they bear, briefly before I let you go, what words of encouragement do you have for them at this particular time, this critical time?
Yeah, the word of encouragement I will use is that for them to demonstrate this spirit in fighting this COVID-19 at this particular moment, I will only encourage our nurses not to relent, to continue with the good fight, because we definitely know that victory is ours, and definitely within a short time, we shall reach our goal by meeting up the standard. Well,
Mr. Akpi Joseph Abuja, thank you so very much for joining us on NTA International at this time.
Thank you so much for having me this evening.
Well, here's the Chairman, National Association of Nigeria Nurses and Midwives at the National Hospital, Abuja. Now, moving on, the House of Representatives Tuesday considered and adopted several motions bordering on interventions to mitigate the social and economic impact of coronavirus pandemic. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that issues of evacuation, alternative medicine, and provision of testing centers took center stage.
House members there as plenary applauding frontliners as the world marks International Day of Nurses amid the coronavirus pandemic. Plenary commenced with matters of urgent public importance on COVID-19, among them an urgent need to look into the evacuation of Almajiris in view of health and legal implications, during which the House called on the Presidential Task Force to immediately halt the evacuation by enforcing the interstate travel ban is moved by Representative Aisha Duku.
In some cases, these children, after traveling for so many hours under harsh weather, were rejected and turned back by their states of origin, or at best, they were kept in isolation under dehumanizing and demeaning conditions.
urged the Northern Governors Forum to provide their Majoris with the requisite tools for the universal basic and technical education system.
Representative Osi Prestige in a motion called for support to the use of alternative medicine for the treatment of COVID-19, while Representative Hassan Fulata made a plea to authorities to establish a testing center in Jigawa State to help arrest the spike of COVID-19 in the state.
To encourage and support some of the claims by our local scientists and alternative medical practitioners, as some of their claims sounds convincing enough to hazard a trial of the drugs developed by them.
Aware that Jigawa State has no single testing center and most of the hospitals and health institutions are not equipped adequately in terms of facilities, drugs and personnel.
Other issues considered and adopted by the House pertaining COVID-19 are the point of order from Representative Umar Jiga, urging the federal government to take measures of mitigating the impact of the pandemic on internally displaced persons across the country, while Representative Chudi Moma requested a review and investigation of the power sector during the pandemic. House Leader Adodogwa led debates on 4 motions, all of which passed second reading. A bill seeking alteration of the Constitution to allow for independent candidacy to any elective office, sponsored by House Chief Whip Mohammed Tahir Mangunu, passed second reading.
The general perception that political parties are hijacked by few group of people.
A professional that feels is popular with the grassroots, with his people, can get signatures and become a candidate. Why not?
All our attempts to strengthen and deepen democracy, as far as I'm concerned, this is about the first approach.
Plenary also featured the consideration and adoption of the presidential request on its borrowing plan of 850 billion naira. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
This is the news on NTA International, reaching you live from Abuja. Stay tuned for more stories after this break.
Action. Make your home the place to be with GoTV's super cool kids channels.
That sounds fun.
From funky friends that'll keep even the little ones busy.
All right, everybody, let's do this!
To learn as you watch educational shows for curious young minds.
You can do some amazing things.
There's plenty for everyone. Tune in to our kids shows and get everything you need to keep the kids entertained and learning the fun way. GoTV, live it, love it.
The number of the COVID-19 cases in Nigeria is increasing daily, with many more tests ongoing. The battle of testing, isolating, treating, and attending to the affected persons rests heavily on the shoulders of our health workers, constantly putting their lives on the line and at risk to contain this virus, save and protect the lives of millions of Nigerians. To these health workers, we at the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, on behalf of millions of Nigerians, say a big thank you for all that you have done and are doing. To the security agencies enforcing the lockdown and every other frontliner, we say thank you for putting your lives on the line to save ours. There is no amount of words that can quantify our gratitude. Thank you. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Well, thank you very much for staying tuned. And now, coming from Kano State, the government has announced the extension of the lockdown imposed by 1 week to help further combat the spread of the novel COVID-19 pandemic. The State Commissioner for Information, Mohammed Garba, who made the announcement, said the decision was reached after due consultations with the federal government and key stakeholders in the health sector. He said the measure is aimed at a further reducing indiscriminate person-to-person contacts, which is considered as one of the major ways the disease has been spread. Mohammed Garba, while acknowledging the consequences of the measure on the public, in a statement called for patience and support as the battle against the pandemic continues. He also appealed to the people to continue to observe strict personal hygiene through regular hand washing, use of face masks, and social distancing. Now, the federal government says it will continue to maximize the potential in the water, hydropower and irrigation sectors through an effective public-private partnership. Such partnership is now set to deliver 30 megawatt hydropower from the Gurara multi-purpose dam in Kaduna State. Musbaut and Wahab reports.
Beyond supplying water to the lower Usuma Dam, which serves the FCT with potable water, Gurara multi-purpose dam has had 8 other potentials on the lock since completion about a decade ago. Part of them is the stranded 30 megawatts of electricity meant to serve the industrial area of Kaduna State. Now, here is pen to paper an agreement between the federal government and the concessionaire to finally unlock the hydropower potential of the dam.
We are now ready to put the 30 megawatt Gurara hydropower plant into sustainable operation towards increasing access to electricity in our country, especially in Kaduna State, for job creation and improved life for the people.
The power plant is ready, it's been completed. The transmission line also has been completed, but there is a small portion of the connection in Kaduna that needs to be tidied up, and that's why the minister has given a machine order that this will be done as soon as possible to be able to release the 30 megawatts to the people.
And just like the story of Gurara, 40 megawatts of electricity from the Kashimbila multi-purpose dam in Taraba State is part of other hydropower potentials still waiting to be tapped across Nigeria.
Dadinko is 40 megawatts of power. It's finished, it's a concession. It is the first on-grid power plant in the entire northeast of Nigeria. That shows you the power of public-private partnerships.
Apart from the flow of power, the federal government also stands to gain about 17.7 billion naira concession fee from these agreements. In Abuja, Musbau and Wahab, NTA News.
Local producers and manufacturers in the country have been challenged to support the federal government's one national response against COVID-19 by making their products available for use at this critical time. National Coordinator, African Union Development Agency, a new partnership for African Development, NEPAD, Gloria Okobundu, stated these in Abuja while receiving on behalf of the federal government 100 mattresses from a local manufacturer as a donation to the COVID-19 fight.
Time of COVID-19 where you cannot import, where you can no more go to pay money anywhere to import goods and all that. Every country is minding their business at this point. So it's what you have that you leverage on. So we have our own people. Look at even the masks. Most of the masks in the market is produced locally. Ventilators now are being produced. So meaning this has already made us to think out of the box. And we need to sustain it.
This is our little token to support the federal government for onward distribution to the sick people, basically for the hospital, in making sure that all of us fight this pandemic.
The NEPAD coordinator, who said the mattresses will help address current challenges of bed spaces in isolation centers, appealed for more of such donations from public-spirited Nigerians. President Muhammadu Buhari has written Senate requesting the confirmation of 42 persons as career ambassadors designate. This was also accompanied by 2 other executive communications from the President seeking Senate's approval of 4 nominees as chairman and members of the Nigerian Law Reform Commission. 2 nominees are to also fill in existing vacancies on the board of the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation as non-executive directors. The presidential requests have been referred to the relevant Senate committees for screening. Senate resolved to investigate alleged contributory negligence of not observing standards in conveying explosive materials. Now let's take a look at Wednesday's weather prospects for Nigerian cities and other parts of the globe. And with weather forecast there, the news on NTA International ends. Thank you very much for being there. My name is Justin Bemunyi.